Most people live their lives on the surface of things. They react, they rush, they move from one moment to the next without ever looking beneath. But there exists a different kind of mind, a mind that does not simply ride the waves of existence, but dives beneath them, a mind that doesn't just look but sees, doesn't just think but understands, doesn't just hear but listens, a mind that experiences life with an intensity that others can't comprehend. This is the mind of a deep thinker. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us continue bringing reflections that awaken, inspire, and transform, and I promise, what you're about to discover in this video may change not only how you see deep thinkers, but how you see yourself. Because today, we're going into a world that most people never experience, the inner architecture of the deep mind. A world that is quiet on the outside but endlessly alive within. A world of questions, of patterns, of meaning, of sensitivity, of insight. A world that feels both like a blessing and a burden. A world that belongs to the deep thinker. Deep thinkers are often misunderstood, not because they are strange, but because they live at a depth where most people fear to go. The average person thinks to solve problems, to make decisions, to complete tasks. A deep thinker thinks because thinking is breathing, reflection is survival, understanding is nourishment. The mind is not a tool, it is a universe. To understand deep thinkers, you must begin with their relationship to observation. When the average person enters a room, they see people. When a deep thinker enters the same room, they see everything. They notice the tension in someone's shoulders, the shift in someone's tone, the discomfort behind someone's smile, the silence between words, the hidden meaning behind the obvious, the contradiction between what someone says and what they feel. This is not paranoia, it is perception. Deep thinkers see what others overlook because their minds are tuned to the subtle. They are radar for emotion, energy, inconsistency, truth. Their awareness is not narrow and focused, it is wide and penetrating. And that awareness has a price. Where others glide on the surface of life, deep thinkers absorb it. Every detail, every nuance, every possibility. Their minds are like deep oceans, calm on the surface, but filled with unseen currents beneath. Quiet minds do not mean empty minds, they mean full ones. The deep thinker's silence is not distance, it's processing. Their slow responses are not hesitation, their depth. Their solitude is not isolation, it's clarity. The world overwhelms deep thinkers not because the world is too much, but because they feel too much of the world. But the most defining trait of deep thinkers is their inner dialogue. The mind of a deep thinker is in constant conversation with itself. Not noisy panic, not anxious loops, not obsessive spinning, but a kind of internal exploration. A deep thinker does not simply feel sadness, they explore its roots. They don't just experience joy, they analyze why it feels meaningful. They don't just react to conflict, they examine every angle of it. They don't just love, they understand their love. They don't just fear, they ask what the fear is trying to reveal. The deep thinker lives in layers. Thoughts have thoughts. Ideas have roots. Feelings have histories. Experiences have meaning. This creates a mind that is at once brilliant and burdened, because thinking deeply is not something you turn off. It follows you everywhere, into relationships, into decisions, into memories, into silence, into the dead of night when the world is asleep, but your mind is wide awake, following a thought into its furthest corner. Most people fear their inner world. Deep thinkers inhabit it, but that depth comes with shadows. The deeper the mind goes, the more it sees, and some of what it sees is painful. Deep thinkers often struggle with existential loneliness, not because they want to be alone, but because few people understand the terrain of their mind. They crave emotional and intellectual depth in others, but such depth is rare, and so they float in a world that feels too shallow, too rushed, too distracted, too loud. They swim in an ocean while most people crowd into puddles. Deep thinkers seek meaning in a world obsessed with convenience. They seek truth in a world obsessed with appearances. They seek connection in a world addicted to entertainment. They seek introspection in a world terrified of silence. This is the deep thinker's burden and their gift. Deep thinkers are not negative. They are not gloomy. They are not overcomplicating things. They are simply unwilling to accept simplicity when something deeper exists beneath it. They question everything because everything means something. Why did someone say that? Why do I feel this way? Why does this pattern repeat? Why is this moment meaningful? Why does this memory sting? Why does this person's behavior change around certain people? Why does society function this way? Why does existence matter? Why is the world the way it is? Deep thinkers are explorers, but instead of exploring mountains and oceans, they explore thought itself. The mind is their terrain. Curiosity is their compass. Wisdom is their destination. But this journey makes them different. Not better, not worse, just different. They struggle with small talk. They cannot tolerate superficiality. They feel drained by meaningless conversation because their mind hungers for substance. They want to know what someone dreams about, what someone fears, what someone believes in, not what someone bought last weekend. This doesn't make them elitist. It makes them hungry for connection. Deep thinkers don't need many people, they need the right people. People who speak in honesty, not performance. People who share their thoughts, not their masks. People who feel deeply, not carelessly. People who live with intention, not autopilot. Deep thinkers build few relationships, but those relationships are profound. And when they love with thought, with depth, with presence, with an intensity that others often cannot match. But the greatest struggle of a deep thinker is not love, it is emotion. Deep thinkers do not just feel emotions, they analyze them. They break them down, trace them to their origins, explore their meaning. This makes them incredibly self-aware, but also incredibly vulnerable. A deep thinker's heart breaks differently. Their sadness sinks deeper. Their fear echoes longer. Their disappointment cuts sharper. Their loneliness feels heavier. Because they do not distract themselves from emotion, they understand it. They don't run from feeling, they examine it. They don't avoid discomfort, they face it. And that emotional transparency can be both healing and painful. Most people avoid their feelings. Deep thinkers unpack them. This is why Jung believed deep thinkers were closest to the individuated self. The self that sees its shadows, understands its wounds, and confronts its inner contradictions. But this introspection has a cost. Deep thinkers often feel responsible for understanding others as well. They interpret tone, body language, emotional inconsistencies. They empathize before others even speak. They anticipate needs that were never expressed. This is why deep thinkers often feel emotionally exhausted. They are carrying not only their inner world, but glimpses of everyone else's. But deep thinking has gifts that shape the world. Deep thinkers are visionaries, inventors, philosophers, creators, writers, scientists, artists, observers, healers, problem solvers, pattern detectors, truth seekers. They think in systems, structures, patterns, meanings. They can see solutions others miss. They can imagine futures others cannot conceive. They can feel emotions others cannot articulate. They can understand human nature with clarity that feels prophetic. Deep thinkers build the world quietly, but their greatest strength is something else. The ability to sit with themselves, while others escape themselves. Deep thinkers explore themselves. They don't run from silence, they enter it. They don't panic in solitude, they thrive in it. They don't fear introspection, they crave it. Their solitude is not loneliness. It is alignment. It is the space where their mind breathes, where their soul speaks, where their insights surface. But the psychology of deep thinkers reveals one ultimate truth. Depth is not something you choose. It is something you are. You cannot force someone to think deeply, not if their mind is built for speed instead of depth. You cannot force someone to feel deeply, not if their heart is built for safety instead of exploration. You cannot force someone to understand you, not if their inner world has no doors. Deep thinkers do not become deep by accident. They are shaped by experience, sensitivity, introspection, curiosity, trauma, creativity, and the complexity of their own nature. But if you are one of them, your depth is not an inconvenience. Your questions are not a burden. Your sensitivity is not a flaw. Your silence is not emptiness. Your introspection is not overthinking. Your intensity is not too much. You are simply operating at a depth that most people never learn to swim in. And that is something to honor, not hide. Because the world may misunderstand deep thinkers, but deep thinkers understand the world. And in a society obsessed with speed, noise, distraction, and performance, the mind that chooses depth becomes rare, fragile, powerful, and necessary. You are not here to fit the surface. You are here to illuminate what lies beneath it. You are not here to rush. You are here to understand. You are not here to conform. You are here to awaken. You are not here to be loud. You are here to be profound. The psychology of deep thinkers reveals something essential. The world needs you, not to drown in your thoughts, but to think in ways the world has forgotten. And once you accept your depth, truly accept it, you will no longer feel misunderstood. You will feel free.